Laugh at the cringe, learn from the crumble. This is Cringe and Crumble. Welcome to the podcast where honesty meets humor and the messy parts of life finally get their spotlight. I'm your host, Tranisha, and here we dive into dating, friendships, healing, and all the awkward in-betweens. Because here's the truth. Growth isn't always pretty, but it's always real. So let's get into it. All right, welcome back to Cringe and Crumble. I'm your host, Tranisha, and today we're actually going to be talking about something that I think we've all had this common kind of issue with, and it's kind of interesting, but I really want us to kind of dig deep and figure out what is it about low vibrational friends. And today you probably noticed that I'm not here alone for once. I actually have a co-host, and she's one of my great friends. But before I allow her to speak, there's some great things I want to say to her and say about her, because I feel as though you need to understand who Nurhan Ora is. So before we dive deep into the episode, what are low vibrational friends, to first off to begin with? And I want us to kind of think about those different type of individuals that kind of drain us, that kind of put us in these different type of parallels of like feelings. And we're going to dive really deep with that, but I want Nurhan's take on that. But let me give you her bio at the end. So Nurhan is a certified hypnotherapist, mindset and connection coach, and an energy practitioner. Am I right?
Yes.
She helps people break cycles, rewire beliefs, and walk into rooms calm, confident, and aligned. In short, I like to say, like all the time, that you read the room, she reads energy, and she helps people stop normalizing chaos. So with that being said, I want to welcome Nurhan to Cringe and Crumble. And for listeners, Nurhan, who are new to you, how would you describe the work that you do and who you support?
Well, thank you, Tranisha. What a nice bio. Thank you. Yes. So this topic, it's honestly my favorite topic ever because I love working with people. I love working with energy. I love working with the mind because we're complex beings, right? And we need a lot of support. So I work with people. I'm an energy, I guess say, practitioner, NLP practitioner as well. NLP meaning neuro-linguistic programming.
Okay.
So it's one of the fastest way to create change, especially if people are going through fears or phobias or depression. It's very quick to address those things with NLP versus with traditional talk therapy. Something that takes 10 years can usually take about 3 to 4 sessions with NLP. And I mainly focus on social anxiety. So a lot of my clients going from, recently divorced women or, people in their 20s who are feeling lost, or even professional athletes that are, retire from NFL or NBA, and all of a sudden they feel like they lost their identity. I help them find themselves again and how to make a genuinely good circle of friends, how to have a community that you trust, so that you can live your life to the fullest.
I like that. See, that's good. I was close, I think, on the bio.
Very, yes, exactly.
Not too far.
No, I'm proud of you.
With such an impressive background, I really do think that you are a great fit for this episode, and that's why I tapped you for it. And also, this episode was born out of the conversation that we had about some of my friendships.
Yes.
And you bringing that to the forefront of me having low vibrational friends. And that was something very new to me, and I didn't even know what that meant. So I was like, let me do some digging before I start talking about this in an episode. So before we dive deep, I really want us to understand what is low vibrational and what does it mean to have a low vibrational friend. And so when I was doing a little bit of research on my own, which I'm going to have you, talk about what your professional thoughts around this, what is the definition of this? And so for me, I was looking at this, and it really was rooting in those repeated patterns, and those repeated patterns of drama, like negativity, jealousy, and chaos. And a little bit that's tapped into that victimhood. And so when I kept going back into my relationships and analyzing them and understanding what kind of energy it was being sucked out of me, I looked at those different type of patterns and what was happening. And so that's what I was feeling as what the definition of what low vibrational friends should be. So I want you to tell me, from your perspective, what does low vibrational energy look or feel like in a friendship?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think the information that you found is very accurate. So I would say that's some of the symptoms that we will see in a low vibrational friend. But really, what happens is we're all energetic beings, right? So we come in this world completely full of just high positive love frequency. That's why kids want to play. That's why babies, they demand things because they're so used to getting what they want. Their soul is expanded. But then as we grow up, we take on limiting beliefs. We're being, depending on who our caregivers are, our parents, whatever it is, when we're young, we take everything as 100% truth up until the age of 7. All of that goes straight in the brain like a sponge, and that information ends up ruling our entire life when we grow up. So, for example, if we have friends or our mother said that all rich people are really snobby and negative, then when you're older, your brain wants to protect you. And if you want to get rich, your brain tries to hold you back from succeeding because it thinks that you're going to become snobby. Or if you've seen really bad divorce in your life, then your brain registers that as risk. So then when you want to get into a relationship, it sabotages you from getting too close to people because it wants to protect you from going through what you witnessed as a child. And so people grow up not knowing that they pick up on these patterns. And so they start to behave in certain ways, not even realizing they're doing that. So for example, if they didn't have too much as a child, if they didn't have a lot of attention, they grow up demanding attention from their friends, right? If they grew up in this victim mentality where everybody's constantly complaining about them, they believe that that's the way to go. That's how you know that you're being supported, by complaining and getting advice from people. And so these are all patterns. And what happens with our energy is that we all have an aura. And so when our brain creates these patterns, it gives off an energy. And so that's what creates an aura around your body. And that's the energy that you begin to emanate. And so if you are living in chaos, if you're living in fear or guilt or any of those low frequencies, that's what our vibration ends up being. And we all resonate. So basically the universe, the main law of the universe is the law of resonance. We all mirror each other. Our energy starts to match another person's energy. Our neurons begin to mirror each other's neurons. And so when you have a friend who is stuck in those old patterns of fear, guilt, complaining, you end up matching their energy. So that's what it means to have a low vibrational friend. It doesn't mean it's bad. It doesn't mean they're evil. It just means that they're stuck in these old patterns. And most times it's completely unconscious.
And you mentioned that at the age of 7, usually that's when you stop listening to your, well, I guess you don't stop listening to your parents, but you stop absorbing what was being taught to you. And why is it significant that that's at the age of 7?
Yeah, so the brain is an interesting thing. So while we're growing up, our subconscious mind is the part of us that helps us survive. And so that's why from the day we're born up until the age of 7, that part of us, 95% of it is created. And so that's why it takes everything in to then set us up for life so that we can survive on our own. And so that's why it's observing everything, how people behave, what love means, what does friendship mean, and everything is about survival. And so if you, for example, are bullied at school or somebody tells you never to sing again, your brain registers that as if you sing in front of people, it'll be embarrassing. You will be removed from that circle and you might not survive. And so that that gets you really shy or, timid in the future. And so after the age of 7, it continues to develop, especially large events in our life. So if you have a big heartbreak, for example, or if you witness something happen or traumatic events.
Or your parents go through a divorce or something.
Exactly. All of that goes into the subconscious mind as well. But up until the age of 7, I would say that's the majority of our personality.
You're a golden child until you're 7.
Exactly.
Oh, she's 7 again. Well, with all that being said, how would you describe high vibrational energy in contrast then?
My high vibrational friends. So that is the complete opposite.
Yes.
Right? This is when you find a person that is very much whole in their energy. They're empowered. They don't have to be bubbly and very excited, but they're just authentic. And you feel that. And so when you make a high vibrational friend, they are elevating you. They make you feel at peace. They motivate you. You feel inspired. So have you ever had that, Trinisha, when you go out to lunch with a friend and you're just full of creative ideas and you're just catching up about life and thinking about old fun memories, and you just feel so good when you leave? Versus there's some friends, they're so nice and you love them so much, but by the time that lunch is over, you feel drained.
Yes, which brings us to our next part of the section, which is what are the signs of a low vibrational friend? But no, you did mention, like, have I ever had those lunches where I did feel like I had such an amazing high vibrational friend? I really, really do. I actually had on my podcast, my previous podcast, and she is such a grounding force. And that's someone that I always want to be around. And now I have my other high vibrational friend, you, on my podcast today, which I enjoy being around. But I also, by contrast, have had those very draining individuals that once I'm done with them, you do feel like, what have I just done? You know, like,
Right.
So I'm just going to read off all the different signs so I can talk you through all of the signs of my friends.
Is that a long list?
No, it's only 5. It's only 5. I like to call the 5 deadly sins. Shall I say the 5 deadly signs of a low vibrational friend? I think in no numeric order, but like number 1 is they're emotionally draining. So when I think about this, it's more like a trauma dump. Like they're always spiraling. There's always something that's going on. And you always feel as though you're going through like Groundhog's Day, right?
Yep.
It's the same thing. No matter what you tell that person, they still do not want to fix whatever is wrong with them. And so I started finding myself when I was in these type of friendships very angry. And I don't know why I felt very angry. I guess because I think sometimes when you feel as though you're giving them, you're trying to help them, and you're giving them like your opinion and they don't accept it, or they're not actually, doing anything about it, you just feel as though they've disrespected your time. I don't know. That's probably weird on my part, but that's how I feel about it. The second sign is that they're always in crisis mode. I've had a friend who I swear is always in everyone else's business besides her own business, to the point that when she went to go see a psychic, the psychic was like, I only came back with things from other people because
Wow.
it just could not find anything on her. And I told her, and I was like, does that not resonate with you? That it's telling you that you're in everyone else's business. Like, why are you showing up for everyone else and not for yourself? Because that's the most important thing, is to show up for yourself before everybody else.
Yeah.
What do they tell you when you get on an airplane? When the oxygen the oxygen masks come down, you are supposed to what? Put the mask on yourself before you put on your baby. And that's how you should always live life, in a sense, but not in a selfish way, but in a way that it's grounded. And so those are my 2, but you can conversate in that. But I have 3 more, but what are your take on those 2?
Yeah, no, I completely agree. So you mentioned patterns. That's exactly it. So when we learn something as a child, or even throughout our teenage years, we get stuck in a pattern. So what happens is the brain gets comfortable with that behavior. It almost gets addicted to that behavior because it's like chemicals firing the same exact neurons. And so we need certain reactions from people. We need to experience specific emotions because the brain is very comfortable with it. And one thing that we get addicted to is the familiar. And so that's why it's our job to then break those patterns. Because if we don't, we will live our entire life with the same behaviors, even if it's detrimental to our health. People get addicted to cigarettes, for example. They know it's bad for us, but the brain keeps them addicted because it feels comfortable and familiar. And so with your friend, she might not even realize that that's what's happening, because that's the way she grew up. And so she is addicted to the drama. She needs to know what everybody else is going through. And sometimes it makes the person feel better about themselves. If they know that XYZ, they're going through these problems and you're going through, oh, my life is actually not that bad. It's not sustainable. It's not going to make you feel better forever. It's pretty much a dopamine hit for a second. But a friend has to want to help themselves before they can take your help. And I think that's what was causing the frustration as well, because I've had both in my life. I've had people where, I had a friend who was extremely depressed, and we lost touch for a while. And then when we reconnected, he was questioning life and the meaning of life. He didn't want to,
Well,
And I talked him through everything. He didn't believe in energy. He thought it was all BS. He's just like, oh my God, is that a cult? I'm like, no, my friend, it is not a cult. A cult wants to get something out of you. This is the opposite. It's empowering yourself. It's to believe in yourself. And so he ended up taking my advice. I sent him very specific books that I wanted him to read. And he did. His life completely transformed after that. He ended up moving to San Diego. He's probably going to hear me talking about him right
he
now.
He get married, he has kids, there's a white picket fence. I already know.
Living such a happy life right now. He changed his life because he learned about energy. He learned about frequency. He learned about the power of thought and how we create our own reality. And so when he implemented that, we are still best friends. And I love talking to him on the phone because we're always talking about how to improve, how to make ourselves better. We share advice. Whereas there are some friends and they just call, complain. And I give him all the advice. I give them the resources. I've even done free sessions for them. But unless they want to help themselves, it's not going to go anywhere. And so at that point, that's when you have to know, hey, I've done my job. It's your lesson to learn at this point. Sometimes a person, unfortunately, has to go through some crisis situation to wake up. And it's not us sometimes to change that.
And I feel bad because, like you said before, like you kind of get used to that pattern. But I get to the point to where, like, if they even call my phone, I get this visceral reaction of, I don't even want to answer it. Like, I just, like, it's like a pit in your stomach, which is not something that I'm not like I'm proud of it, but it's like, it's just something within my body that's kind of trying to tell me. I don't know if it's my nervous system being shocked or what that's all about, but I realize if that's something that's happening, I need to kind of distance myself.
Yeah.
So what do you say to, like, if you're getting such a reaction from just a phone call itself, or like the ring of a phone call from that person that you're, I don't know, shocking your nervous system? Like,
yeah, to be honest, that's something I struggled with myself because I'm an empath. I feel bad for everybody. I feel compassion. In my previous years, I worked at UNICEF Australia, which was all about charity. So that's my character. And so I want to help everybody. And it doesn't matter how much they drain me. I felt like I needed to be there for everybody. But then I realized that I wasn't leaving enough for myself. Like I was going to bed with migraines. And so I began to distance myself from those people. So, of course, I set a rule for myself of 3 chances where I would give them the resources. I would walk them through everything. I would educate them about all of it. And I would make it very clear, hey, you need to change. And so if those 3 chances pass and they still don't take the advice, then I just distance myself. And, usually people get the point. Like it's harder to make plans. It's harder to catch up on the phone. And then you just drift apart. And if I see that there's progress on the other side, then we reconnect again. Sometimes it's a timing thing, but we have to protect our own energy because when you're living to the fullest, when you're charged, your battery is at 100%, you can be there for more people. And so
very true. As a Virgo, that's what I do all the time.
Yeah, there we go. We're both Virgos.
Yes. I don't recharge my battery.
Yeah. It's necessity.
It is true. Like if I don't have enough energy for myself, I definitely don't have energy for you.
Yeah, exactly.
Which brings us to the next 3 signs. I think the other one is very important when you really have a low vibrational friend is that they don't celebrate your wins. Not everyone needs to be rah, happy, but it's like whenever you come to them with something that's new, let's say, for instance, like this podcast or you starting, your energy healing, it's like if you told that person, they kind of take it as almost kind of like offense to it because it's not something that they were a part of, or they may find some type of negative in that. And I find that is kind of like a fake friend. Mm-hmm. They're not really your friend. They're more like a frenemy. I don't know what you say to that, but I've seen that happen on numerous occasions. But I don't know why people do that.
So that's still the survival part of our brain. Our brain wants to survive, right? The ego part of our brain wants to survive. And the only way it can survive is by feeding off of this energy. So if you as a person have some kind of dreams, or you know that there's more to life than what you are living and doing right now, but you're still holding yourself back. There's that part of your brain that's still sabotaging you. And then you've got a friend who comes in and tells you about their own aspirations and how they are achieving what they truly want to live. You take offense to that. Not that we should be doing that. It's that part of the brain, though. It feels like the ego all of a sudden is threatened because you're not doing that for yourself. And so you start feeling bad about yourself. And
so you basically project
you project it. Exactly. Which we obviously should not be doing that. But if a person grew up in that environment, sometimes they can't even control it. So that's where the deep healing comes in. They have to break those patterns. You have to rewire your brain, and it's possible. Neuroplasticity makes it possible, and our brain can be remolded, and you could change your perspective of how you view things. Because when you start becoming happy for those around you, that means you found peace within yourself. And that lightens and lifts your own energy where you can start achieving your own dreams. So,
look, girl, you clocked it.
I
love it. This is why
I
I'm
got
in your
you.
space. I know. I feel good. All right, our other sign that we have is actually they're this is quite interesting. It's kind of like how we bond our lives, right? You have those friends that have bad habits, and you may want to start talking about behavior, like, I don't know what you would call that. But I've had friends where they've gotten into groups of other friendships where they bond over like trauma, or they bond over like bad things, or we're drinking all the time, or we're gossiping, we're doing chaos. But there's this one group I had, this one friend, and she got in this group of women that just decided their whole motto in life was we're just going to be having affairs with people at work. And I thought to myself, this is the most craziest things. But to her and her friendship group, it was 4 of them. They all were sleeping with someone else in the office, and those people were married, but they were just like, well, no, this is normal. This is how it should be. But then you start realizing that they're feeding off of each other's really bad habits. And that's when you kind of, I don't even know if you realize it as a person, but you've got a low vibrational friend if you start to realize what was once good habits are now becoming bad habits. Like, you were probably drinking more than what you would have been drinking. Like, in her situation, she's making really bad life decisions. Like, karma is going to come around. And I was just like, I don't know. How would you speak to behavior?
Ugh, yes, that's rough. Man,
You didn't see that one coming.
You need to send them here. We need to have a chat with them.
No, we don't.
But you know what, Trinisha? This all go back to us mirroring each other. So, okay. So on a frequency level, let's say you see a candle dancing this way. The law of resonance, if you have another candle that's flickering with a different type of vibration, you put them next to each other, they begin to dance in unison because everything begins to match the frequency of what is next to it. They did an interesting study in Japan, actually. I love sharing this. So they looked at this contaminated water through a microscope, and you could see all the chaos, all the bacteria. There's no patterns. And then they had somebody come in and play a flute of very high frequency music, a beautiful melody. When they looked at that same water under a microscope 10 minutes later, it was amazing because they saw perfectly structured snowflakes. The water completely restructured itself to match the vibration, the frequency of the melody that was playing. We are mostly water. Now think about it. If you are listening to some heavy metal, horrible song that's talking about hate, you might consciously not realize that you are starting to restructure. Your cells are starting to match what is on the outside of you. People are also vibration, their energy. If you've got people around you who are just emanating negativity, guilt, shame, fear, jealousy, even if you don't consciously believe in what they're saying, your body begins to mirror that. And so something where you might come into a circle and feel like, whoa, these are not my people, but you spend enough time with them, your body begins to mirror that. our neurons begin
I
to
gotta
mirror
stop
that.
with all my
Yes.
friends.
Not to make
kidding,
you
I'm just
panic.
kidding.
And you might have very strong values where like you would never do that.
Mm-hmm.
But by being in a situation, like for example, a circle of heavy drinkers or a circle where everybody's kind of like lazy, doesn't do anything with their weekends, your brain begins to see that as normal because our brain wants to match our environment to survive. That's what it does.
So is that why when we're going through heartbreak, we listen to like sad songs, we just keep listening to them just because we want to continue to be in that sad space?
Yeah, because your brain's addicted to the pain, so it thinks that it's great to.
So we're listening to Adele on a loop. We're like, yes, it's happening again and again. Okay, now it all makes sense.
It all makes our life makes sense now.
So now we just got to be conscious of it. That's basically what you're saying.
We have to be conscious. We have to be aware. Exactly.
Well, I'm on our last sign. Okay. Okay. So this was interesting. So this one's called weird competition.
Mm-hmm.
It's like this person's in competition with you and you never even knew it. I don't know how, like, it's interesting. How do you say it? But like, they are always trying to one up you in a conversation, right?
Mm-hmm.
If you said like, I went on a trip to Bali last year.
Yeah.
I'll be like, oh, I went to Bali too. Or I got this new promotion at work. Oh, you got the promotion at work? Oh, that's good. Like, really, why would they promote you? Like, oh, but did you get more money? Oh, you did it? Oh, you didn't really get a promotion. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So you're just kind of like, what is this? So we're in this weird competition to where, why are they competing with you? I guess in a sense, we're competing and I don't know we're competing or you don't know we're competing. But then when you slowly start realizing that every time I tell this person something positive, something negative comes out or they kind of look at it weird. Like you get in a new relationship. It's already a red flag. Why are you in a relationship? Men are stupid or something crazy like that.
Yes. I mean, sometimes they're just watching out for you. So if you say that you're in a relationship, they want to make sure the guy's right for you. But the one-upping thing, very common, still links all the way back to the survival part of us, the ego trying to run the show, and the ego loves attention. Because if you don't have the attention from the people, you might not survive. You might not be accepted by society. And so if they were programmed as children to do that, or if a person was not getting enough love or attention from their family, their brain craves that. And so they don't even realize they're doing it, but they feel like they always have to one-up the other person or say something that will get a reaction. And so I've seen that a lot, especially at work. You know, you're in a group of people and somebody tells a really great story and without even reacting to that story, they're like, I got one too. And then they have to talk about their trip or their vacation or whatever.
Sometimes I have to actually stop myself because I'm like, am I that person? Like, did I listen to their story? Or, like, I just want to make sure, or am I just trying to relate?
Yeah.
But it's not like a conscious thing that I would do anyway.
No, you're a great listener.
Oh, thank you.
I can attest to that. So
thank you. I have a question for you. So how can someone check in with themselves after hanging out with a friend to see if it's healthy?
So your body picks up on energy way faster than our conscious mind. So when you're hanging out with somebody, you probably would notice during the hangout session, but once you leave, see, are you feeling inspired or are you feeling down? Are you drained or are you energized? If you are feeling better or neutral, just the same as when you walked in to that session with your friend, they're fine. But if you're confused about your own decisions, or you don't really have the same confidence anymore, or you just feel a little foolish because they made you feel really stupid for the things that you're doing, that's when you have to question that friendship. Yes.
I like that answer because sometimes I do feel like, am I gaslighting myself? Did I just witness what I witnessed? And so now I think you're giving us great tools to actually kind of realize that. But with that being said, why do we keep these friends around when we know they're low vibrational? I know on my end, the reason why I may keep them around is because of history. Let's say, for instance, we grew up together.
Yeah.
You know, as a Virgo, you always have loyalty to that person until they do something extremely bad. And when that happens, and you're done. Another one is, you had a shared trauma of some sorts, you know, maybe they were there after you had a car accident or anything that was very traumatizing to you. You feel as though if I break away from that person, you know, I'm like doing them a disservice. So why do we stay?
That's a great question. Honestly, there's a couple of different reasons for that. One is obviously empathetic people like you and I. We don't want to just abandon people just because they're having problems or they're completely unconscious of some of the behaviors, right? Another thing is when we're little, it's so much easier to make friends because you're surrounded by other kids that are your age. You're in sports, you're doing all the stuff. You get used to having friends. And then all of a sudden, when you're working and you're an adult, it's harder to meet people. You have to put in effort, and we're not taught to make friends because it's always been given to us. It's always been given on a silver platter. So when you realize how hard it is to make friends, you hold on to the ones that you have in your life. And so, yes, if you have history with some friends, you're like, well, I can't abandon them. But if you made new friends and they happen to be toxic, your brain is still very scared of letting them go because we're scared of being alone.
It's very true.
So this is where we have to have willpower. We have to listen to ourselves, our own nervous system, check in with ourselves and say, is this person serving me or not? And I don't mean serving in a, that kind of way. I mean, are we elevating each other? Are we making each other better? Have I given them all the resources to change? If they said no, if they're unwilling to change and they still bring me down, it's their lesson to learn. They have to go off and have these experiences, have the shift in perspective of maybe not having plans one weekend to realize maybe there's something about me. It's all a mirror. But then for us, it's an opportunity to then make space. When we remove something, all of a sudden we have more space to bring in other people that match our authentic selves. Where all of a sudden, Trinisha, you don't have to walk on eggshells. All of a sudden, you're craving conversations with these new people and you're making each other better. And then they introduce you to even better people. And then your circle expands and you're surrounded by successful, healthy, really positive people. And that's when your own life starts to transform. And this is what I teach people. I'm like, you have the power. You don't have to keep on kind of dealing with the same menu items in front of you when you've got this entire restaurant in front of your eyes. Like, you have the choice to bring in whatever else matches your own personality.
Now, it's interesting that you said you can find new friends. As an adult, it takes a lot out of us to find new friends.
Oh, yes.
And when we do find new friends, it's like, they're never really that great. And so even to find a high vibrational friend, that's even more harder than what I'm already trying to do. But what are some of the green flags to look for in these new high vibrational friends? I know you just mentioned like, oh, you can have these great opportunities to talk more and be open, but where do I go? How do I go find those people? Like, how do I shift that energy? Like, what does that look like? Let's flip the script. Like, we're done with low vibrational friends. I want to know about high vibrational friends and what to search for and how to obtain that.
Oh, yes. Oof, I love this topic. And I have so much advice on that because that's something that I had to recently do as well. Living in this new area, and because I moved here during the pandemic, and then, and then I had a child, I didn't have time. And all of a sudden now I have all this time and I'm like, who do I hang out with? And there are different things, you'd be surprised that there's some apps. I know you laugh when I say that, but there's some apps that are like specifically for friends. Okay, so there's that. Bumble has a best friend section.
I don't like that best friend section of Bumble. I'm going to go against that one.
Yes.
I won't lie. I was going to try it. And then I'll never forget, I actually had a really great coworker that was like, why do you have to make friends online? You need to do what you love and get outside of your house and make friends naturally.
That is true.
So I was like, you know what? What do I love doing? And it's like, I love being outdoors. I love doing volleyball. I love being active. I love doing tennis. So it actually made me go outside of my box, which is, I'm always outside my box, but I got to go back and do the things that I love doing.
Exactly. No, that's amazing. And that was my next point. The thing about the app, though, which I only used it once, but thank God I did that one day because I met my best friend. She is smart. She's from the UK. She lives right like 5 minutes away from me. And I can't imagine not having her in my life. Right. So it's great for people who are just new in town. Right. They just moved. They work full time. They might not have time to do all these activities. And so they're wanting to meet some girls. So I haven't used it in ages because now I have my circle, but it's a great starting point. If you don't have any other options. If you have hobbies, that was my next point. That's the best way to organically meet people because if they're doing the same thing that you like, they have a very similar energy. I met a lot of my friends at the gym. I love, F45 or just
you're
very like
obsessed.
circuit training where there's music. So you know that the people around you are active. They lead a active lifestyle. They're healthy. Another thing is just, even like painting classes or anything like that. Start conversations with people. The thing is, people expect friends to come to us, just like the way it was when we were kids. It changes when you're an adult. You have the power to change your reality. And so if you want better friends, be the first one. I love Mel Robbins actually often gives that advice, and I love it so much. Let me be the first one, she says in her book. And I completely agree with that. Most of my closest, my favorite people in my life, it's because I was bold enough to be like, I love this conversation. Like, let's exchange phone numbers. Because if you let that go, you might never see them again. And they could be your next best friend. So one of my friends, it was at a coffee shop. Our kids ended up playing together, and then we started talking together. And
Well,
it's
we met
been
at the
3
gym.
years. We met at the gym. Exactly.
Yes,
Exactly.
being active. How about those people who don't have hobbies? What are you supposed to do? Like, what if they're introverts? There's so many like what's. Like, how do they get outside of their shell and make those friends? But I guess you just say you just gotta take a leap of faith.
That's when you have to start doing the inner work first. And this is what I help my clients with. So that's why they come to me. They're like, I'm too shy. I can't be the first one to say hello. We unpack that first. Like, why do they have that fear? What happened in their lifestyle? And then we reprogram those patterns. We rewire their brains so that they can see themselves as a more social person. Once you heal that part of yourself, you rewire your brain a little bit, you gain the confidence, then I give them very actionable steps. Like when you're in that coffee shop, I want you to turn around to the person behind you and ask if they've tried that drink. It could be very, very simple. It doesn't have to be hard, but it's just about curious questions as well. Get the other person talking, connecting on a more authentic way. When you're curious about the other person, you'd be surprised how long they can speak because they feel seen. So that's exactly what I teach. We all crave human connection. We all want it. So if your brain is telling you, oh, that person has friends, like why would they want to talk to you? It's just doing that because it's protecting you from embarrassment. It doesn't mean it's real. It's like a computer system. But if you go out there and you say hi first or start a conversation, you will be surprised how your circle begins to grow. And when it does, you gain more confidence because now all of a sudden you're surrounded by people that you chose, not because life happened to you. No, you are creating life.
Listen, that was great. And I don't want you to give all of your secret sauce to everyone on the show.
There are too many.
I
It's
felt
okay.
very moved by that. Like before we wrap up, though, I want you to tell everyone where they can actually find you if they want to get in contact with you, because I think being in your presence and being able to speak with you and have the resources that I have at my fingertips, just being your friend, is something that's very beneficial to other individuals. And I love the whole talk about energy and how we can shift that and high vibrational friends as opposed to low vibrational friends. What's the best way for everyone to contact you?
Yeah, absolutely. So NurhanOra.com. So NurhanOra.com. And then also Instagram, because I have such a unique, crazy name, it's very easy to find me. So Nurhan Ora is my handle on Instagram as well. So that's how you can get in contact with me. Feel free to send me a message. And as you could see, I love talking about this. So
Well, we wrap up though. So when we wrap up, I actually want to leave everyone with an assignment. I actually wrote this down. Like what people should actually do after our podcast episode is, number one, identify a friendship that has a pattern that drains you. So you really don't want to sit there and think about it. And number two, choose one boundary that you would actually, set it for that person. Maybe it could be something small, maybe distancing yourself slowly or having an honest conversation. Think about how you can kind of put that boundary into play. And then number three, name one high vibrational trait or friend that you have in your life and see how you can kind of maneuver yourself through your life that way. So with that being said, we're done, Nurhan. And I'm so sad we're done because I really like this episode.
This is great.
And I'm going to miss you, but I have you in my life every day. But as I sign off, I want to say thank you so much for being on my episode because you were the right person for this episode.
Oh, thank you, Trinisha, so much. I had so much fun. And yes, you can call me anytime if you need advice. And I'll make sure that you're doing your homework and expanding that circle of yours.
I like to think I am. Well, that's it, folks. So until next time, laugh at the cringe and learn from the crumble.
Thank you so much.
Have a good one.